So I was asked to make this short film about the Bill of Rights with some politicians. It was a long, long process.
So when Mel Gibson contacted me, I was avoiding it, not by purpose, but by habit. But once I realized what it was, I thought it'd be great for my book sales.
So when Mel Gibson asked me to be in this film, I was really concerned at the time about the 1% and what they're doing to America. Now, many people are poor and it's really sad. But once I was done trying to find the poor children and make them feel worse, I thought I'd help Mel Gibson with his film.
So Mel Gibson asked me to do this film with him, and I was very skeptical about it. I was scared of the fake news attacking me, so I got some opinions, some very important people to me. So I decided to start thinking about people I could call businessmen, politicians, whoever. I then tried to call some of them. Unfortunately, none of them answered. Sad. So then, I had to poop. And I thought, you know what? I'll just think about who to ask while I'm pooping. While I was pooping, I had the greatest realization ever. I need to ask the working class. Should I be in the film with Mel Gibson?
I really don't care at all.
Should I do the film with Mel Gibson? Get out of here! With all those wonderful, fantastic opinions, I'm in Donald Trump. So Mel Gibson asked me to talk about the First Amendment, and pretty much this amendment talks about, your freedom of speech, which means you can talk about whatever you want. Like I always tweet on Twitter and speak my mind. And then you have your freedom of press, so all the news channels and everything else, they can talk about me and the stuff I do, which I never like. It's usually fake. And then you have your freedom of religion. I love freedom of religion. It's the greatest thing ever. Love it, love it, love it. Unless you're Mexican, you can have your religion. But all this means is you can do whatever you want, you can praise whoever you want, you can worship whatever you want, and I love it. And then you have your peaceful assembly, which means you can protest me, which that's dumb. Hate it. Why would you want to protest Donald Trump, the United States president?
The Second Amendment basically states that people have the right to bear arms, which means they can protect themselves and form militias. Now, people usually assume that I am against the Second Amendment, which I am.
So the Third Amendment says that soldiers cannot be kept in houses during any time, peaceful or not. And I think that's fair. We don't want soldiers in our houses. We don't want them to be forced in our houses and us be forced to keep them. I don't want soldiers in my first house, or my second house, or my third house. But don't tell the poor people about that.
The Fourth Amendment basically states that people have the right to security and privacy of the property due to warrants being required to search unless of probable cause. In my case, I just delete everything. No worries.
So Mel Gibson just had me talk about this Fifth Amendment, and basically it states about the you can't be indicted unless you have a grand jury, not a great jury, but a grand jury, and you can't be tried unless you have this grand jury. I'd love to meet this grand jury. They sound like great people, fantastic people.
Under the Fifth Amendment, double jeopardy states that you are guaranteed not to be charged for the same offense twice. But you know what you can do twice? Count the election votes.
Hillary, you still lost. Accept it.
So the Fifth Amendment also states that you have the right to not testify against yourself, which means if you are to be convicted of some crime, you don't have to go up and talk bad about yourself or say anything. The Fifth Amendment also says that if the government is to take your land, they have to compensate you for the land that they took, which means give your money back. Honestly, as a socialist, I think give the government whatever they need. Who cares about the money you get back? give it to them. In the Sixth Amendment, it states that the accused have a right to confront witnesses against them. And I think the poor need to have the right to accuse the 1% of not paying the taxes. I don't think it's fair. And the Sixth Amendment also states that the accused have the right to have a lawyer. In this case, I will be the lawyer for the poor, and we will destroy the 1%.
I'm also doing this Sixth Amendment, and basically it states about how you have the right to a speedy trial, and basically all that means is they can't keep you convicted forever. You must be tried quickly, and I don't know how I feel about it. When I think of Speedy, I think of Speedy Gonzalez, and he is Mexican. I just do not like it. Donald Trump here, and I'm talking about the Seventh Amendment. And although it's not normally heard in federal court cases, the Seventh Amendment, it states that you have the right to a jury trial in federal court cases. And I don't think that I need a jury because I'm Donald Trump and I usually speak the truth. I know if I'm innocent, I know if I'm guilty.
So the Eighth Amendment basically states that you cannot be charged with a cruel or unusual punishment. Now the poor are receiving cruel and unusual punishments because the 1%, like I said, are not paying the taxes. One more thing the Eighth Amendment says is that you cannot be fined too high, which is a good thing because the poor cannot afford it.
So, all these politicians forgot about the Ninth Amendment, which basically state that even though your right's not in the Constitution, doesn't mean it's not there, which other rights can't take away from the rights that are stated in the Constitution. But that's what I get for having politicians talk about people's freedoms. So apparently, these politicians didn't want to cover the 10th Amendment either, which means that if the right's not stated in the Constitution, it's handed down to the states, which are handed down to the people. That's what we call federalism. But these politicians don't care about the states. It was a long, long process. Here's some clips to show that. Trump, I need you.
He's tweeting.
Hillary, this is what I need you to do. Hillary, please. Hillary, just forget it. Trump, come here. Barney. 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 What's wrong with Barney?
He's asleep.
He's too old for this. Thank you.